Hi, my name is Pete Richter, and I'm going to briefly explain how to navigate my submission for the recipe test coding exercise. Uh, if you open the project, you may notice that you're in a different scene. You may be in a new scene. In the assets folder, you'll see a few main folders. Top level in main, you will find scenes, and with one item, main_inventory demo. You can also search for it up here. This is the scene you want to open. Inside of inventory demo, you'll find 3 game objects in the top level of the hierarchy: main, game controller, and game view. This exercise, in it, I intended to implement a simple game view with avatars and pickup items and a UI. Did not get that far, so most of this is not implemented. The majority of the logic lies within what's contained and referenced by game controller, but the single point of entry for the application lies within main and the component class therein. Main has a reference to the game controller, and it also has a reference to some crafting tests. Now, the crafting tests and most of the centralized game models can be found under main in ScriptableObjects. Under core in ScriptableObjects, you'll find the game model itself, which has a reference to the player model. It also has a reference to all the items, or a collection of all the items that you can craft with, and all the recipes that you can craft with. These are recipe and item collections, respectively. The player model has a reference to a default set of inventory items and a default set of recipes that it knows how to craft. Currently, the default recipes matches the all recipes list, so it can craft anything as long as it has the requisite items. The inventories are different templates, basically starting loadouts. Usually, minimum raw ingredients only will give you enough to craft one of each pie. Not only both the apple and key lime pies that were supplied in the exercise, but also a more complex chicken pot pie example that uses 2 complex ingredients, including another raw ingredient milk item that I added, as well as another complex item, gravy, that requires milk and flour that I added. We'll get to that later. Um, for the time being, going back to core, going back to the player or the game model, or excuse me, main, we need to make sure some crafting tests are in here. So I'm going to go back to the tests under scriptable objects and put our default crafting tests in there. This is going to attempt to make one of each pie. So to make sure that this succeeds, player model needs a different inventory. We want minimum raw ingredients only. So running, see the following output, and we get what we expect. This is our loadout: 1 apple, 1 lime, 5 flour, 3 eggs, 2 milk, and 1 grilled chicken. It's going to show, because a chicken pot pie requires 1 pie crust, 2 gravy, and 1 grilled chicken, and gravy requires 1 milk and 1 flour, that's a total of 2 flour and 2 milk, plus an additional flour and an additional egg. So 3 flour, 2 milk, and 1 egg, and 1 grilled chicken total to make a chicken pot pie. It's showing that our inventory with it, we can craft 2 gravy. We can craft a total of 3 pie crusts, 1 for each pie. We don't have a pie crust yet. We're testing if we can craft an apple pie, but we don't have pie crust. But now we're seeing if we have a recipe for it, and we do. We have the ingredients for it, and we are seeing not a complete craftability for an apple pie in our inventory, but a partial craftability. It's showing that we do have the ingredients ultimately to craft it, but we need to craft our crust first. We're going to get the same result for the key lime pie as well as the chicken pot pie. You can see it going through and looking for the gravy as well. On to step 2, where we actually destructively craft the ingredients. We have the ingredients necessary to craft 2 gravy, as well as our pie crusts, 3, 1 for each pie. Once the eggs and the flour are depleted from our inventory, the entries are removed. You can see that craftability was complete for the apple pie, was also complete for the chicken pot pie, and for the key lime pie. It's removing all of these items from the inventory. Third step, we're showing our inventory after the crafting phase. We have no more raw ingredients left because we used all we had, which is exactly what we needed. We have 1 apple pie, 1 key lime pie, and 1 chicken pot pie. Testing availability again. The availability tests will fail because we do not have enough raw ingredients. We don't have any raw ingredients, and there's no recipe for these raw ingredients anyway, so they will fail as expected. This is a successful test. Now, if we wanted to test something else, for instance, maybe we only want to test apple pie. Um, so we can take a different loadout, a different inventory, can craft apple pie. You can see we only have the ingredients to craft just an apple pie. Now, if we go to the player and we change the loadout to Cancraft Apple Pie, this is going to fail immediately if we run it because our test suite is actually testing to see if we can make all this other stuff, and we don't want that. That's going to fail. If we want it, if we run it, we will see just that. So there's a lot of errors. It's going to complain about all kinds of missing things. It failed to craft 3 pie crusts because we asked for that and we only have enough for one. So that's not going to work. We need a different suite of tests. This is pretty easily done. I'm just going to duplicate this asset and I'm going to say apple pie tests. And we can just go in here and select the items that we don't want to test for and remove them. We don't want gravy, key lime, or chicken pot pie. And we don't need 3 pie crusts because we don't have that many items in this current loadout anyway. So now, with this created, we can go back to core and look at our player model, or excuse me, main. Pardon me. We already replaced our loadout to the player model. What we need to do now is go to main and change which set of tests it points to. Now we're going to say apple pie tests. And we hit run. No more errors. Okay, we have 1 egg, 1 flour, 1 apple. We can craft a pie crust. We cannot craft an apple pie because we don't have a pie crust, but if we did, it's saying that we could. On to crafting the items. We can craft a pie crust. We don't have any egg and flour left, so let's remove those. We have complete craftability for an apple pie, so let's craft one. Add it to our inventory. And now our inventory shows nothing but 1 apple pie, and we are no longer able to craft the crust or the pie because we do not have the raw ingredients. So this shows the flexibility of using scriptable objects to have a variety of different asset level configurations, exposing configurability and design to non-developers and developers alike, serving as tools as well. There are a lot of different fields that sort of inspired me to go a more visual route, such as the mention of images on the item models in the original game model definition, but I chose to leave those unimplemented because the focus here was navigating the inventory, analyzing it, and determining the craftability and successfully crafting items. So thank you.